I think they should recast. I think if they're going to have Luke be a bigger role, they can't just deep fake him. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hey, this is a clip from our full episode, which you can check out in the description or on the channel. Now back to the clip. Mark Hamill had an interview here recently and was talking about the future of Luke's character and him portraying Luke as a character. Quote, people say, oh, now you're going to be able to do a whole series of Luke post Return of the Jedi. I said, I don't think so. First of all, they don't need to tell those stories, but if they do, they could get an age-appropriate actor.
Oh, interesting.
So this is really fun because I think this is what we've all been wanting to happen. We never wanted Luke to be a CGI character. We never wanted, I think it's cool that they consult and talk about how Luke would approach different things with Mark Hamill.
Sure.
I think that's great guiding force, especially after his sassiness when it comes to The Last Jedi, because he wasn't happy with the portrayal of Luke. He wanted Luke to be more of the force for good in Star Wars and more so what we know of Luke as in Legends of okay, he's going to do the right thing. He may make mistakes, but it's ultimately going to be because he's trying to do the right thing. That's how Mark Hamill perceives Luke. And I think it's good to have that guiding light, especially in the TV shows where you're expanding things a lot more. But how the heck do they pull this off in Book of Boba Fett? Well, currently, they have Mark Hamill do and act a role. They do the whole scene with Mark Hamill. Then they get the look-alike actor to do that whole scene again. And then they special effects work on things in the background.
Well, they got such backlash, I think, from Mandalorian season 1. 2.
Yeah.
2. So I can understand why they're careful. But I do appreciate that an actor is actually coming out and being like, you know what? Maybe just get someone new.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, too, that he says, first of all, they don't need to tell those stories. When Heir to the Empire is literally, it was marketed as, it was honestly the birth of what we know the extended universe and Legends content to be. And it was the continuation after Return of the Jedi. It was the next trilogy. Thrawn was the big bad in that trilogy. And we see Han, Luke, Leia, Lando, Mon Mothma even.
Wow.
We see all these characters in here and they're there. They're the young version. They're the couple years after Return of the Jedi characters that we know and love. And they are just continuing that legacy. But to hear Mark Hamill say, yeah, I don't know if they need to tell those stories. What is Heir to the Empire in this phase of Star Wars? And I think, honestly, the foundation of this movie is The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It is what The Mandalorian set up. So, how do they take what The Mandalorian set up, Book of Boba Fett built on top of, Ahsoka's building on top of, Skeleton Crew's built on top of, all of these different groups and TV shows and maybe even the movies are building on top of? How do they mix that all together while also keeping true to what we know of as Heir to the Empire? It's rumored right now that that's what the movie is going to be called. But if they do open that floodgate, they're going to open themselves up to a lot of criticism of, oh, this isn't like the book. Or, well, the book was better, or the movie's better. You're going to have both sides of those people.
Boy, this is kind of a sticky situation, if you really think about it. It's going to be real interesting because we already have had Luke, a younger Luke, in these TV shows and stuff. So he's already made an appearance.
And why wouldn't he be a part of it, honestly?
Yeah.
He's Luke Skywalker. He's trying to set up, as we know in Book of Boba Fett, the next Jedi Order. He's got a Jedi Academy that he's trying to train Force sensitives. Why wouldn't he want to bring down one of the biggest forces in the galaxy to ensure a good future for his future Jedi? I think they should recast. If they're going to have Luke be a bigger role, they can't just deep fake him. They can't have that because they need the emotion and they need the ability to do more than just oh, we can't do that scene because it's going to require 6 months of work to make it look natural.
Right.
No, recast.
Just get a new guy. It's a hard situation because we've already seen a Mark Hamill deep fake Luke. So what is it going to look like if Mark Hamill doesn't come back? What are they going to do? Are they going to recast? Really? Are they going to just be like, no, you're going to stay on until we get this done?
But then you open the whole can of worms with young Harrison Ford. Is Leia going to be a part of that?
Right. But it's still fascinating that Mark Hamill's like, yeah, just recast me. It's fine. Cool. Glad we got your approval.
I think that's fair. I think we need to see the next generation of Star Wars fans have their Luke. We don't have to constantly bring back all of the characters. Like, I think it's fair to recast and to retell stories that might be a little bit different than we remember because they're new actors. But I think as long as they capture the role and look close enough, I think it'll work.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. But on the point of he doesn't think that those stories need to be told. Really? Do you agree? Do you think so? Or is it just a matter of like, let's not unearth the Legends debacle here?
I think they need to tell new stories with Luke because they have a different Luke. Like, we know Luke's endpoint, which is The Last Jedi, and him being a very
sour,
grieving, somewhat angry character, so fearful that he would try to kill his nephew.
Yeah.
We know that's his endpoint, so I think they need to help bridge that gap of like, how do we get from Luke, who's willing to do anything for the galaxy and do anything for his family, how does he get to this point where he wants to kill his nephew?
Yeah.
I think they need to bridge that gap a little bit. Maybe it's not in Heir to the Empire, maybe it's not in this Mandoverse, maybe it's something else, but I think they need to bridge that gap a little bit. We'll see. They're definitely going to be bringing more things into Star Wars, so we'll see what direction they go. And who do you want to see recast Luke Skywalker? It's a big thing.
That's a huge burden.
Yeah.